let's talk about caiman. We've
Sure.
seen a lot of different kinds of sizes. We've seen a baby one, a bigger one. Tell me about these 16-foot plus apex predators of the Amazon rainforest.
The big bad black caiman, which is the largest reptilian predator in the Amazon, except for the anaconda. They kind of both share that notch of apex predator. They were actually hunted to endangered species level in the 70s because they're leather, black scale leather. But they're coming back. They're coming back, and they're huge, and they're beautiful. And I was walking near a lake, and I never understood how big they could get, except for I was walking near a lake last year, and I was following this stream. You know what it's like when you're following a little stream, and there's just a little trickle of water, and all of a sudden this river otter had been running the other direction on the stream. River otter comes up to me, and I swear to God, this animal looked at me and went, "Hey!" And I went, "Hey!" He was like, didn't expect to see me there. And he turned around, he like did a little spin, started running down the stream. Then he turned around, and you could tell he was like, "Let's go." And I'm not anthropomorphizing here. The animal was asking me to come with him. So I followed the river otter down the stream. We started running down the stream. And the river otter looks at me one more time, is like, "Yo," jumps into the lake. And I'm like, what does he want me to see? Now, in the lake, this river otter's doing dives and freaking out and going up and down and up and down. And they're very excited. They're screaming. They're screeching. All of a sudden, and I've never seen anything like this except for in like Game of Thrones, this crockhead comes flying out of the water. All of the river otters were attacking this huge black caiman, 16 feet, head half the size of this table, and she was thrashing her tail around, creating these huge waves in the water, trying to catch an otter, and they're so fast that they were zipping around her, biting her, and then going around. And this otter, swear to God, interspecies, looked at me and went, "Watch this. We're fucking with this caiman." It was amazing. And for the first time, I got to stand there watching this incredible interspecies fight happening. They weren't trying to kill the caiman. They were just trying to mess with it. And the caiman was doing his best to try and kill these otters. And they were just having a good time in that sick sort of hyper-intelligent animal, like wolf sort of way, where they were just going, "You can't catch us."
Yeah, like intelligence and agility versus like raw power and dominance. I mean, I got to handle some smaller caiman, and just the power they had, you scale that up to imagine what a 16-foot, even a 10-foot, any kind of black caiman, the kind of power they deliver. Maybe can you talk to that, like the power they can generate with their tail, with their neck, with their jaw?
Alligators and caiman and crocodiles have some of the strongest bite forces on Earth. I think a saltwater crocodile wins as the strongest bite force on Earth. And you got to hold about a 4-foot spectacled caiman. And you got to feel, I mean, you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu. How do you compare the explosive force you felt from that animal compared to what a human can generate?
It's difficult to describe in words. There's a lot of power, and we're talking about the power of the neck. Like what is it? I mean, there's a lot. It can generate power all up and down the body. So probably the tail is a monster, but just the neck, and not to mention the power of the bite, that. And the speed too, because the thing I saw and got to experience is how still and calm, at least from my amateur perspective, it seems calm, still, and then from that sort of 0 to 60, you could just go wild,
just thrashing.
And then there's also a decision it makes in that split second whether, as it thrashes, is it going to kind of bite you on the way or not.
And that's where of the 4 species of caiman that we have here, you see differences in their personalities as a species. And so you can generally golden retrievers are viewed as a friendly dog. Generally, not every single one of them, but as a rule. Spectacle caiman, puppies. You released one in the river and it did nothing. Didn't bite one of your fingers, it just swam away. We dropped one in the river, and what did it do? It chose peace. Now, I had a smooth-fronted caiman a few weeks ago, and this was probably about a 3.5-footer, not big enough to kill you, but very much big enough to grab one of your fingers and just shake it off your body, just death roll it right off. And as I was being careful, totally different caiman than the one that you got to see. This one has spikes coming off it. They're like leftover dinosaurs. It's like they evolved during the dinosaur times and never changed. They have spikes and bony plates and all kinds of strange growths that you don't see on the other smoother caiman. And I tried to release this one without getting bitten, and I threw it into the stream, gently into the water, just went, wah, and tried to pull my hands back. And as I pulled my hand back, this caiman in the air turned around and just tried to give me one parting blow and just got one tooth, whack, right to the bone of my finger. And bone injury feels different than a skin injury. So you instantly, and it just reminds you of, that's a caiman with a head this big, and it hurt. And I know that it could have taken off my finger. Now, if you scale that up to a black caiman, it's rib crushing. It's zebra head removing size. Just meat destroying. It's incredible. It's nature's metal, sort of. Just raw power.
So, what's the biggest croc you've been able to handle?
We were doing caiman surveys for years, and we would go out at night, and you want to figure out what are the populations of black caiman, spectacled caiman, smooth-fronted caiman, dwarf caiman, and the only way to see which caiman you're dealing with is to catch it, because a lot of times you get up close with the light and you can see the eyes at night, but you can't quite see what species it is. For instance, this past few months, we found 2 baby black caiman on the river, which is unprecedented here. We haven't seen that in decades. So it's important that we monitor our croc population. So I started catching small ones. In Mother of God, I write about the first one that me and JJ caught together, which was probably a little bigger than this table. And probably mid-20s bravado and competition with other young males of my species led to me trying to go as big as I could. And I jumped on a spectacle caiman that was slightly longer than I am. And I'm 5'9", so I jumped on this probably 6-foot croc and quickly realized that my hands couldn't get around its neck and my legs were wrapped around the base of its tail, and the thrash was so intense that as it took me one side, I barely had enough time to realize what was happening before it beat me against the ground. My headlamp came off, so now I'm blind, in the dark, laying in a river in the Amazon rainforest, hugging a 6-foot crocodile. And I went, JJ! As I always do. But in that moment, before I even let go, I knew I couldn't let go of the croc, because if I let go of the croc, I thought she was going to destroy my face. So I said, okay, now I'm stuck here. If I just stay here, I can't release her. I need help. But I was like, I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to try and solo catch a croc this big again. I was like, this is, I knew in that moment, I was like, this is good enough.
So anything longer than you don't control the tail. You have barely control of anything, really.
Yeah, and that's a spectacle caiman. A black caiman is a whole other order of magnitude. It's like saying like, oh, I was play fighting with my golden retriever versus I was play fighting with like, what's the biggest, scariest dog you could think of? The dog from Sandlot, a giant gorilla dog thing, like a Malamute, something huge. What are they called? Mastiffs.
Yeah, mastiffs. I mean, you mentioned dinosaurs. What do you admire about black caiman? They've been here for a very, very long time. There's something prehistoric about their appearance, about their way of being, about their presence in this jungle.
With crocodiles, you're looking at this mega survivor. They're in a class with sharks where it's like, they've been here so long. When you talk about multiple extinctions, you talk about the 6th extinction, Earth's going through all this stuff, the crocodiles and the cockroaches have seen it all before. They're like, man, we remember what that comet looked like. And they're not impressed.
Yeah, they carry this wisdom.
Yeah.
In their power.
Yeah.
In the simplicity of their power, they carry the wisdom.
Yeah. And they're just sitting there in the streams and they don't care. And even if there's a nuclear holocaust, you know that there would just be some crocs sitting there dead-eyed in that stagnant water waiting for the life to regenerate so they could eat again.
It's going to be the remaining humans versus the crocs and the cockroaches. And the cockroaches are just background noise.
Yeah, they'll always be there. Sons of bitches.
We're talking about individual black caiman and different species of caiman, but whenever they're together and you see multiple eyes, which I got into experience, it's quite a feeling. There's just multiple eyes looking back at you. Of course, for you, that's immediate excitement. You immediately go towards that. You want to see it. You want to explore it. Maybe catch them, analyze what the species is, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Can you just describe that feeling when they're together and they're looking at you? So head above water, eyes reflecting the light.
Yeah. So the other night, Lex and I were in the river with JJ, surviving a thunderstorm. We're in the rain and we had covered our equipment with our boats. And the only thing that we could do was get in the river to keep ourselves dry. And so we were in the river at night, in the dark, no stars, just a little bit of canopy silhouetted with all this rain coming down. It was such a din you could hardly hear anything. And all the way downriver, I just see this caiman eye in my headlamp light.
Mm-hmm.
And I started walking towards it because I was like, this is even better. We can catch a caiman while we're in this thunderstorm in the Amazon River. And when JJ went, Paul, it's too far. JJ very rarely, like he'll make a suggestion. Like he'll usually go like, maybe it's far. But in that situation, deep in the wilderness, unknown caiman size, he went, Paul, it's too far. Don't leave the three of us right now.
Yeah.
We're too far out to take risks.
Yeah.
We're too far out to be walking along the riverbed at night, because then, right here at the research station, if you step on a stingray, you get evac'd. Out where we went, nothing. So for me, seeing those eyes, I think I've become so comfortable with so many of these animals that I may have crossed into the territory where I feel so comfortable with many of these animals that they just don't worry me anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, I looked at you in a raft while you had a sizable, probably about 12-foot black caiman right next to your raft. Mm-hmm. I watched its head go under. The bubbles, it was all coming up right next to your raft as he was just moving along the bottom of the river, because he looked at me, went under, and then my raft passed and yours came over him. So now I'm looking back and your raft is going over this black caiman. And I'm going, I'm not worried at all. Mm-hmm. I was not worried. I was not worried that the caiman would freak out. I was not worried that he would try to attack you. I knew 100% that caiman just wanted us to go so you could go back to eating fish.
Yeah.
That's it.
Man, it's humbling. It's humbling, these giant creatures. And especially at night, like you were talking about. And for me, it's both scary and just beautiful when the head goes under. Because like underwater, it's their domain. So anything can happen. So what is it doing that its head is going under? It could be bored. It could be hungry, looking for some fish. It could be maybe wanting to come closer to you to investigate. Maybe you have some food around you. Maybe it's an old friend of yours and just wants to say hi. I don't know.
I have a few on the river, old friends. No, when we see their heads go under, it's just, they're just getting out of the way. We're shining a light at them and they're going, why is there a light at night? I'm uncomfortable. Head under. So these caiman, again, you think of it as this big aggressive animal, but I don't know anybody that's been eaten by a black caiman. And the smaller species, smooth-fronted caiman, dwarf caiman, spectacled caiman, they're not going to eat anybody. Again, at the worst, if you were doing something inappropriate with a caiman, like you jumped on it and were trying to do research and it bit your hand, it could take your hand off. But that's the only time. I've been walking down the river and stepped on a caiman, and the caiman just swims away. And so in my mind, caiman are just they're peaceful dragons that sit on the side of the river. And so to me, they are my friends. And I worry about them because 2 months ago we were coming upriver, and on one of the beaches was a beautiful, about 5-foot black caiman with a big machete cut right through the head. The whole caiman was wasted. Nothing was eaten, but the caiman was dead.
What do you think that was?
Curious humans.
Just committing violence.
Yeah, just loggers, people who aren't from this part of the Amazon, because a local person would either eat the animal or not mess with it. Like Pico would never kill a caiman for no reason because it doesn't make any sense. So these are clearly people who aren't from the region, which usually means loggers because they've come from somewhere else. They're doing a job here and they're just cleaning their pots in the river at night, and they see eyes come near them because the caiman probably smells fish, and then they just whack because they want to see it, and they're just curious monkeys on a beach. And again, me, friend of caiman, I protect from my type.
That said, you protect your friends and you analyze and study your friends, but sometimes friends can have a bit of a misunderstanding. And if you have a bit of a misunderstanding with the black caiman, I feel like just a bit of a misunderstanding could lead to a bone-crushing situation.
But not for a little 5-foot caiman.
Sure.
And I think that's incredibly speciesist of you.
About humans or about caiman?
No, hey. I'm saying, like, all my friends do the same thing. They go, you swim in the Amazon rainforest? You swim in that river? And I go, yes, every day. We, backflips into the river. We've been swimming in the river how many times? With the piranha and the stingray and the candiru and the caiman and the anacondas, all of it in the river with us. And we just do it. And what's that for you? So what allows you to do that? Knowing And having researched all the different things that can kill you, which I feel like most of them are in the river, what allows you to just get in there with us?
Well, I think it's something about you where you become like this portal through which it's possible to see nature as not threatening but beautiful. And so in that, you kind of naturally, by hanging out with you, I get to see the beauty of it. There is danger out there, but the danger is part of it. Just like there's a lot of danger in the city, there's danger in life, there's a lot of ways to get hurt emotionally, physically. There's a lot of ways to die in the stupidest of ways. We went on an expedition through the forest, just twisting your ankle, breaking your foot, getting a bite from a thing that gets infected. There's a lot of ways to die and get hurt in the stupidest of ways, in a non-dramatic cayman eating you alive kind of way.
Yeah. It strikes me as unfair because humans we're still in our minds so programmed to worry about that predator. What predator? We've killed everything. Black caymans are coming off the endangered species list. We exterminated wolves from North America. I actually heard a suburban lady one time tell her son, watch out. Foxes will get you.
Mm-hmm.
Foxes.
Yeah.
They eat baby rabbits and mice.
Well, in the case of apex predators, I think when people say dangerous animals, they really are talking about just the power of the animal. And the black cayman have a lot of power. And it's almost just a way to celebrate the power of the animal.
Sure. And if it's in celebration, then I'm all for it because my God, is that power. Like the waves of fury that you saw. Like when that tail, I mean, you saw the tail of the spectacle, that perfect, amazing thing with all those interlocking scales that works so it's like a perfect creation of engineering. And then when you have one that's this thick and all of a sudden that thing is moving with all the acceleration of that power, wow, the volume of water, the sound that comes out of their throat, they're dragons.
We talked about the scales of the snake, but like the cayman, just the way it felt was incredible. Just the armor, the texture of it was so cool.
Yeah. I
don't know, like the bottom of the cayman have a certain kind of texture. And it just all feels like power, but also all feels like designed really well. It's like exploring through touch, like a World War II tank or something like that. It's the engineering that went into this thing.
Yeah.
That like the mechanism of evolution that created a thing that could survive for such a long time. It's just like incredible. This is a work of art. The defense mechanisms, the power of it, the damage it can do. How effective it is as a hunter, all of that. You could feel that in just by touching it.
Do you ever see the mashup where they put side by side the image of, I think it's a falcon in flight next to a stealth bomber, and they're almost the exact same design? It's incredible. Like that.
What's the equivalent for a croc?
Like you said, maybe a tank. Like
maybe a tank.
More like an armadillo, turtle.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like hippos and
there may not be a war machine equivalent of a crocodile. It would have to have like a big jaw element to